Gentlemen and or ladies, I'm not quite at the point where I can check, the demographics on who views my content. So I will just throw in ladies for the shit of it, but I can imagine mostly gentlemen. Because honestly, what better things do we have to do with our time than watch a shitload of YouTube videos and Joe Rogan? If that is not the most relatable statement you've ever heard, then just stop watching now, because I'm full of outlandish ideas. I don't even think that one's that outlandish. Anyway, welcome back. Here's the time lapse from, as promised, from the first video. If you watched the first video, if you haven't, I am not going to lie to you and sit here and say I recommend it. It was very poorly edited, and now that I look back on it, I do regret that intro with my stupid mug, because that is out on the internet forever. But what are you going to do? So, we are working on, tying up the loose ends on the front entrance, front plaza, and the main plaza once you enter the park. This video was a pain, a royal pain in my ass to edit, because there was just so much footage. This is about 2 hours of gameplay, I want to say, throughout the day. And just taking it all and editing it, and you're going to see a lot of cutbacks, back and forth, because I just cut out so much footage, and it really put it in perspective when I'm playing, how many times I'll just zoom out and look at what I built, and maybe all I did was put up like 3 or 4 fences. So I guess there is a benefit to this. I'm learning to be a little bit more pragmatic and consistent with my building. That way, when I just toss on the recorder on my gaming computer, I can just build and go. Again, it's my undiagnosed ADD, but I will be damned if I have to pop a pill every day to be normal. You're an asshole who believes in the placebo effect. Not necessarily true. Not necessarily true. I just don't think it works for me. I don't want to be the dude who's all pilled out just to be normal. I don't want to be a walking pharmacy, I guess. But maybe I could benefit, because I'm already on a tangent, and we are 2 minutes, 30 seconds, and I'm not even going to try to count the milliseconds that are ticking around on this screen right now, because it would be pointless. But here we are, working on the park. So what I'm doing right here is I'm getting rid of these 2 little towers. I did the classic brick color and used the haunted house roofs, and the continuity was just off. I hated how that looked. So I ultimately build a more, realistic second story for this little building here. I don't even know what shops I have in there. This park has been in the works for about 6 months, back and forth. I would go weeks without playing it, because life happens and you have other things you need to worry about. But since it is the winter and things have slowed down a little bit, I am back playing this, and I'm going to be trying to do it every day. And making these videos really kind of motivates me to constantly be putting out content, because I'm trying to grow this. I mean, I really am trying to grow this and try to, reach a broader audience, and, dive deeper into the Planco community. Sorry about that. And just the amusement, park enthusiast community as a whole. There are some, roller coaster communities out there and websites that I do think are absolutely cancerous and annoying as all hell. I'm not going to name names, but it does rhyme with theme park review. Those kind of people, not terribly concerned, but there are a lot of people out there who I do genuinely want to, interact more within the community, because they have so much to offer. They do incredible projects and incredible work. And, if I can, network within that, what's the worst that happens? So here we are, building this building. I eventually do drop it down a little bit, just because I wanted to do the forced perspective. And if you've ever been to Disney World or Disneyland, a fun fact is the second floors of the Main Street buildings are actually scaled down from the actual first floors to create an idea of forced perspective. That is how deep I go into this game, you guys. And a lot of other creators do too. And just for the sake of realism, I think it is necessary, and it does add a certain perspective. See, we just dropped it down. And it looks a lot better. That looks a hell of a lot better. I was very proud of how that turned out, and there was a cut to the front, because there was about maybe 10 minutes of footage of me just looking around the front plaza, scheming on what I'm going to do. And here we are finishing up that side of the entrance, I think that ended up looking very good as well. It needed some windows, it needed some pillars and some awnings just to add, you know, the thing that's interesting about this game is you can build walls and put windows on, and it'll look good, it'll look okay. I mean, it gets the job done, but it's the little details that really tie everything together, and that's kind of what we're doing here. Here we are adjusting the color of the Grand Carousel. I'm not sold on it. I'm not dead set on this color scheme just because I'm not even entirely sure about the ride skin that I did start building, and that will pop up here eventually. I didn't the building of the the skeleton ride skin that you will see pop up here in a little bit later on in the video. I didn't film the building of that just because it was such a tedious BS process. So we cut to working on the queue. This also did have an awning, a giant, not even an awning, it had some posts to create this kind of triangular queue building, and it just didn't fit with the ambience of the park, at least this part of the park, because I want this to be a lot of foliage and very open, use as much, and I'm using air quotes here, natural shading as possible, just for the sake of realism, because like I stated before, this is a very Dollywood and Busch Gardens inspired park. A lot of trees. Maybe that's why they call it Dollywood, because of the trees. Get it? It's a pun. All right, I'm gonna catch some flack from coworkers for that, because they are just as fed up with my puns as you guys will probably wind up becoming. But fuck them. I like shitty puns and shitty jokes just because they are shitty. And I'm on a tangent again. I'm going to catch myself on tangents, and more or less I'm going to be going on a lot of them just because, honestly, I can't sit here and talk about placing fences for hours. But this is important. This is the train depot. I was going to do these taller fences here, but I ultimately trashed them. I get rid of them just because I did like the more open vibe of it just being these pillars and these little half walls into the queue house of the train station, or train depot, I might say. There's a lot of things I kind of want to do. This whole train area, maybe turn it into a little hamlet, little area of the park where it's just a lot of train theme and storage, sheds and buildings, because if you're familiar with the Appalachian region, there are a lot of trains. Radford, Virginia, where I lived for a couple years and actually will be going back out to live at come next fall. It was a very big train town, and no train depot would be completed without a water tower. And if you've ever even been to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, back in the New France section of the park, they do have a water tower at the Caribou train station. If you know what I'm talking about, I do applaud you. This is the kind of talk my friends put up with almost on a bi-daily basis or daily basis, or whenever I'm at the parks. It really is a chore for them because I will just not shut up about the little details whenever I go. But yes, water tower. I think it added a really cool element and perspective to this park. Right here, that still that you just saw, I love. So we're back over to the queue of the Grand Carousel again. This is my ADD kicking in, work on one little section and then back to another and then over to another, and eventually it all comes full circle and will be a completed project. And when that is done, I do plan on uploading this to Steam Workshop and sending it to those in the community who do ride in park spotlights, just because I think it might be worthy a little bit. I'm putting a lot of time and effort into this. I'm very proud of it. And you can see it kind of right now as we zoom out. See it, you can kind of see the ride skin for the carousel, at least the skeleton, the outline of it. And I'm still not entirely sold on it. I'm going to toy around with some pieces from the vintage DLC to see if I can tie it together somehow, because I did toy around with a lot of other things using, art, shapes, and the wooden tile, roof tiles and stuff, trying to get a cool awning over top of it, but it just was a real pain in my ass. I was not here for it. So I ultimately did cut out all that footage because it just would have been wasted time, and I'm not trying to have a 30-minute video of nothing, because in reality, the end result of what you will see in this time lapse isn't a lot, but that's mainly because I just wanted to showcase, what little, for those who aren't familiar with this game and the gameplay, just the little details that do go into creating these parks. This, that, or the other thing. So yeah. What else is on my mind? Well, right here we're adding some, not even half walls, more 3/4 walls, just to kind of tie in the path and everything. And that's really all I have to say on that subject matter. This was a little tricky because there are some sharper transitions in the path right here, but you can always close off rough edges with scenery pieces or building decorations, etc., etc. And that's kind of what I do here, and I really am proud of the result. Again, it's the little details like this that really bring a park and a project to life. But I also got to be a little bit sparse on the piece count, just because I'm not running. I'm running a decent amount of RAM on my computer. I think it is 8 gigabytes or 8 gigs of RAM, whatever. I'm not a big computer whiz. I'm one of the few people who did not build their own computer, but I am talking with one of my nerdier friends who's a total sweetheart. He's an awesome guy. When I say nerd, and he's going to see this and know exactly who the hell I'm talking about. You're not a nerd, dude. You just know way more about this crap than me, and that's admirable, because I am pathetic when it comes to technology and all this stuff. But here's a good example of, using scenery pieces to tie in loose ends. I simply could not fit another wall piece there because it would have blocked off the entrance to the queue. So we'll go with some rocks, and I think it looks nice. It adds to the natural, in air quotes, ambience of the park. So, yeah, this is basically just closing off the big green area where the carousel is. A lot of grass, a lot of bushes and trees, and etc., etc. Honestly, I wouldn't be lying if I said I'm mind-numbingly bored right now talking about fencing, but it's got to be done. I'll get better with talking about these things and going in on little details and being more consistent in my building as this goes along. Again, it's a huge learning curve. Editing this video was a pain in my ass, a royal pain in my ass. And for those curious, I am using Adobe Premiere Pro. I think I might have already said that. If I did, I'm sorry. But again, not really. Here we are, look at that. More fencing. More fencing. Jesus Christ. It's like watching paint dry almost. But I really shouldn't edit these videos and then do commentary the next day. I should kind of just knock it all out at once, just to kind of get it over with, because I as much as I love building, I just want this park to be done, because again, the undiagnosed ADD, I have a ton of ideas for other parks, and I already have another park that I had worked on a while back that I've been revisiting without filming and seeing what I could do with that and maybe turn that into another series. But for right now, I'm trying to stay consistent. But as you can see, we're just filling in some more bushes and foliage and all that good stuff. Just trying to tie it all together, bring in the natural ambience. And this this big tree that I just placed, there's actually some importance here. Like I said, there was a big wooden awning covering the queue, and it just didn't look right. But when you add the trees and all that good stuff, it really does kind of create shading and stuff. So when you're at an actual amusement park, you want shading and all that good stuff. So I think that tree did a beautiful job. Here we are, jumping back to the train depot again, the ADD. I gotta stop saying I have that, because there's probably someone who's gonna watch this who actually has ADD and gets super pissed off and be like, "You're an asshole." People actually have a problem with that, and I agree, facts. But I think all of us kind of lose track of, consistency. God, a little bit of a peach impediment right there. Consistency. Damn, I'm actually really struggling with that word. Consistency. There we go. Consistency. All right, attaboy, John. A lot of people do struggle with consistency and, completing projects and tasks and stuff like that. And I entirely blame the internet and the very powerful computers that we hold in our pockets that consume our daily lives as we compare ourselves and our bleak, miserable lives to everyone looking so happy on social media. And that, this is actually a rant I think is worth getting on. Don't compare yourself to people on fucking social media. For the love of God, I see more women who look like they throw cake batter on their face and look all happy doing these model photo shoots. And, if you're a female watching this, for the love of God, do not look at those pictures and compare yourself, because those women do not look like that. And look at it this way. Those women are so empty and pathetic in their lives that they have to spend a large chunk of their day editing those damn pictures just because it looks good, and some guy or Chad or Brad from fucking Alpha Douche or Delta Sig or whatever, you might like it, and then they can get into the frat party in the weekend. Anyway, here's where we get to the overview. This is where it gets important, right when it starts getting juicy. You know what? I think I'm going to start doing rants throughout these fucking videos, because I got opinions. I got some opinions, and I'm really riled up about this one right now. Maybe I should not watch as much Joe Rogan as I do, which is actually on in the background right now. But let's look at the park right here, you guys. This is more or less the finished product. I think I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I got some things I got to do over there by that big wooden fence to the left, in between the Iron Bandit turnaround. Yes, I will get to Iron Bandit, the Steezy RMC. I will get to that. I need to finish up a couple things around it before I put out a final video on it, but that is coming shortly. Here's the money shot updated with the skeleton ride skin. That at least the wood that you see there in the outline, that is going to stay. It's just a matter of what the awning is going to look like. But as we zoom out, you see how the foliage and everything ties in together, and it looks good. I think it looks fairly good. I'm very proud of how this did turn out. Like I said, it's the little details that you place into a project that really ties everything together. That tree adds a ample amount of shading for the queue. I might download some fans from the workshop. You know, the fans you see in the queues on the hot summer days, blowing the mist and the wind in your face, and it's just majestic. And make sure someone has a camera around so you can post a picture of it on Instagram. Am I right? God, we have lost our way as a society. I need to stop watching George Carlin so much. Great comedian. R.I.P. to my guy. This bridge right here, I'm thinking I'm gonna go with kind of an arboretum look. If you've ever been to King's Dominion, with the vines and the bushes covering the top, I think that's what we might go with here. I'm not entirely sure, just because it might block out some of the views that you get out of the park and over the water and that bridge. But here's what we got at the train depot. I gotta do some more work on this building, add a second tier to it, and some windows and all that good stuff. I'll probably just do that off camera, not waste my time on a time lapse with the tedious crap. And honestly, that's all this time lapse was just a lot of tedious bull crap. But I just did it to kind of showcase, the importance of the little details that goes into this game. Because a lot of people who are viewing this, like I said in my first video, probably come from my social media and aren't probably aware with how many little details go into this game. So as this progresses, I'll just do some work off camera and off the time lapse and more or less showcase it. And honestly, I think I might like that format in general just a little bit better. But as you can see, that second story of that building looks a hell of a lot better, excuse me, than it did before. You can hear Hot Shot in the background. I gotta turn that off because constantly testing rides really does mess with the FPS on this game, and I want it to look as clear as possible for you guys for the maximum quality content that I have been promising myself putting out, at least plan on putting out. But yeah, I'm just kind of flying around, and you can see how it all just ties together. I think it looks great. If you are a Planco guy or female or Zer or Z or whatever you identify as, because it is 2019, I do have to put those options on the table. God, I'm an ass. I'm sorry. I'm not going to get political with this, you guys. If you know me personally, you know it's very easy for me to do that. Look at this beautiful view of Hot Shot. Well, it's actually the Shenandoah Hot Shot, and that's going to be themed to firefighters, which again is, if you know, are familiar with Dollywood, they got Fire Chaser Express. I'm kind of going to go with that vibe for the queue and the theming. And if you've ever seen the movie Only the Braves, the Hot Shots, the Granite Mountain Hot Shots, it's kind of driven from that. So Shenandoah Hot Shots, it's basically going to be, Shenandoah Hot Shot. It's going to be themed to, fighting a fire within the mountains. Let's go through this queue real quick. Just kind of give you an idea of what it looks like from a guest perspective. And I just love how this game is just spectacular. Every time I walk through a park from ground view, whether it be mine or someone else's from the workshop, I'm just blown away by just how beautiful this game is. You know, and I started out playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. I never got into Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 just because it was very ahead of its time and glitchy. But this game is definitely a worthy predecessor. What's good be this? Those are staff members of the park. The shops are all staffed, and I don't have an exit for the park, so they all quit. They are just idling there right now. But let's look at some perspectives. And this is basically going to be the left turn into the big chunk of the park. As you can see, I'm teasing Iron Bandit, and that whole area is going to be themed to Franklin County, and Iron Bandit is going to be themed to and if you're familiar with the history of Franklin County in the New River Valley region, it's going to be themed to Moonshine Bandits, and that's going to be it's going to be Franklin Square, some, name like that or whatever. I'm still working on the finer details for how that's all going to tie together. Maybe jumping the gun here, but yeah, that's basically it, you guys. That was the time lapse, my first time lapse, very sketchy and whatnot, and an overview of what we got so far. And I figured let's finish this with a beautiful view of Appalachian Adventure skyline. I do appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch this, and if you made it all the way through, I do applaud you, because my lord, this was torture. I gotta get better at this, but just much like everything else in life, it's all a work in progress. And you're probably tired of looking at a black screen, so I'm gonna peace out, go to sleep, because I need it. I've been working like a dog lately, and adding this to my plate and other adult life things happening does not help. So good night, good morning, wherever you are, whatever time it is you are watching this. Have an incredible kick-ass day, and don't over-edit your Instagram pictures and compare yourself to fake sluts on the internet. I guess that's the takeaway from this. All right, good night, you guys.